Hi, my name is Buoncristiani, and I am the winemaker for Patland Estate Vineyards. In 2007, I get a call from Henry Patland, and he wanted to talk to me about making wine for the family and just wine in general. By the end of the interview, so to speak, Henry and Olga talked for a little bit, and they said, "Oh, we want you to be our winemaker, Jay." So that was a real cool beginning and intro to what has now become, family to me. The Patlands are like family to me, and not just a job. I would say that compared to many winemakers in the valley, I would be seen as taking more risks, but they're educated risks. To me, it's not so risky because once again, I've had so many vintages, 24 vintages of taking these risks and seeing them through and seeing the reward. It's all the risk reward at that point. So this Reserve Cab for Patland, one of the reasons that Henry Patland wanted to make wines here in Napa is because of his love for Cabernet. So right away, the very first vintage of Cab was super important to just, hit the nail on the head and just make an outstanding wine that has everything that Henry was hoping for, and then more. I think we definitely both agreed that our first vintage of Stagecoach Vineyard Cabernet was as good, if not better, than we were expecting. So that was an awesome start. And then when we introduced the Reserve program, it's like, okay, now the pressure's on. How are we gonna take this to the next level? Really, the biggest difference is coming down to selecting very specific barrels that fit the profile as far as what I envision to be a Reserve Cabernet. And in that, I mean the barrels that have the most extraction, that are even more full than, let's say, the Cabernet lots that go into the Patland Cabernet Sauvignon, and that just maybe have this certain element of textural complexity and weight that is unparalleled, and that's really hard to do with Cabernet across the board in many regions in the world. But even here in Napa Valley, just finding those barrels that truly are special. And it might come from a couple different vineyard blocks. It definitely comes from different barrel types, and then the assemblage of those different components that make this Cabernet worthy of going in the Select Barrel Reserve label. And that's something that we're finding now, tasting older vintages of the Reserve Cab versus the Patland Cab. They're both amazing wines, but there's just something about the Reserve wines that have just a little bit, darker fruit. It's lengthier, a different texture on the tannins. I'm not saying that they're always bigger and more tannic than the Cabernet Sauvignon, but the profile of the tannins and the quality of the tannins are just amazing. So that's really something that is challenging, yet exciting and rewarding to know that of all these Cabernet barrels that we're making every vintage, that I'm gonna have a chance to pick maybe only 6 or 9 or 10 barrels and keep those separate to make up the Select Barrel Reserve that's gonna age even longer than the Cab. Classic Cabernet aromas of cassis and that black cherry, black currant, definitely some new French oak that is integrated really, really well. Similar flavors on the palate. I mean, it just mirrors exactly what I was just talking about, but then you get this flush of yum factor, texture, and just velvety tannin, depth of flavor, this persistent, long finish. And for me, let's say luckily I was allocated 12 bottles. As a winemaker, I love wines that are young, so I would pop a bottle or two within its first year of release, which is about 3-4 years old, and really enjoy them. But the best wines would be the ones that I could actually have patience to wait for about, anywhere from 15 to 30, 40 years down the road. So I would probably open up all the rest of those 10 bottles in that lucky 12 every 2 to 5 years and just keep checking in with it and enjoy how it's maturing with age. So cheers to you and your family. Enjoy.